Hello and welcome to Jammin Jukebox Radio Show. I am your host, DJ Delta Dawn, and so very glad to be here with you tonight because Wednesday is always famously known as Hump Day, which means, folks, where it's downhill from here. And Friday Eve is coming tomorrow, and then Friday, and then we slide into the weekend, and hopefully it's going to be a beautiful weekend for everyone. I'm looking forward to mine, and I hope that you are too. I'm always looking forward to Friday. On Monday, I'm ready for Friday, but isn't that half of the world? But tonight we are extremely excited because we have an artist that ever since I booked her, ever since I came across her and her music, I've just been stoked and said, I've got to get her on the show. And ever since we've had her booked, I've just been so excited about tonight because she is so immensely talented. I mean, it's unbelievable how talented she is. And so to just be able to bring her to you and introduce her to you and her music is just an incredible honor and treat for us. And I would like to introduce you to myla-smith. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. I hope that you are.
I am. I'm enjoying this early summer that we got all of a sudden. At least where I am, it's like that. I don't know what it's like in North Carolina, but it's like all of a sudden hot. It went from like cold and kind of gray and miserable to summer. Like it totally skipped spring. Except for the fall part. Plenty of that.
Where are you based? Where are you based out of?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis. Well, see, Tennessee is neighbors to North Carolina, so your weather is about lateral with ours. It was like that. Like, I just told my daughter this morning, I said, it was like 40 last week. I mean, we barely got to 40, and then this week it's like, can we go to the beach? I mean, it's like fancy weather. Oh, my gosh, it's been crazy.
It was crazy. So, Easter Sunday, I remember I was like, well, this is terrible. It was gray and wet and cold. I'm like, it's not supposed to be cold on Easter. But, I know. All of a sudden, here we go.
Well, I have always said we get a week of spring and a week of fall here in North Carolina. We have two climates, two seasons, winter and summer. And it just kind of, it's one or the other. I mean, you're lucky if you get a happy medium once in a while, but it's not often. So
I know. You just got to count your blessings.
But yes, that's true, and I'm glad that it's finally turning warm. I was beginning to wonder if we needed to choke the groundhog because he was so blatantly wrong this year. I mean, he said spring was coming early, and I'm like, what? And then the years when he says it's not coming early, it's always spring. I mean, I'm like, he is so reversed. He's been in the ground too long. But anyway, I'm so happy to have you with us tonight. Thank you so very much for being our guest and taking time away.
I'm excited about it.
Well, it's a real honor and a real pleasure. And I want to first start out because when I read your story about how you got started and where you are now, I was just so impressed because, it's not every day that a singer-songwriter is a CPA first. So talk a little bit about that because I thought that was so cool because one of the neat things about your story was that, during the time of being the CPA, you were also doing the singer-songwriter thing, and it just got to be, oh, my gosh, crazy. And you finally just said, I'm going to pursue music full-time. And I was like, go, Myla. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, how did you not pursue music initially, before you ever went the CPA route?
Well, you know what I did when I grew up doing music, sort of just it was second nature. It was something that I don't really remember a time that I wasn't pursuing music in some form or fashion. I just sort of came out, out of the womb making up songs, and I always loved to sing and, always was begging my parents to, take me here, let me try out for this, and always wanted to do that. And actually, at a very early age, started doing recordings, like for a recording studio when I lived in Dallas briefly for a few years. Got a lot of really good paying gigs doing children's music for recording studios there. And then my family moved back to Tennessee where we're from, and, everything just sort of came to a screeching halt. And I just thought, well, I guess that was kind of fun for a while, and now on to reality. So, I kept singing, but I was very single-mindedly in my, academic career, like trying to advance and making A's and, doing whatever I had to do to sort of be part of grown-up time now, where, okay, now I'm going to do well in school, going to get a good job. And so I was very just single-minded about that. Got out of college and started working at, what I thought was the best job I could get, which was in an accounting firm. And it's still, that is in the accounting world, like working at an international CPA firm is that's the big time. That's the kind of job you're supposed to want to get. So I was, from the very beginning, always kind of like, why do I just feel like this is not the right move? I always kind of felt like, well, I guess this is going to be my life now. And I just never felt right about it. I was, all the time still doing music sort of on the side, because I feel like when you have music that's just put inside of you, that there's no way that you can stop it from coming out. It's going to some way. It just has to. It's sort of a force of its own. You can't really stop it. So for a long time, I struggled with that. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Music was still there, trying to break its way out. And I was writing songs, and so I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to just try to sort of do both. So I recorded my first record, which was basically just sort of my attempt to do a demo, and it turned into a full-length record. And then I was like, what do I do with this? I mean, I was still working like 60-hour weeks, 65-hour weeks at this CPA firm. So, understandably, that first record that I did took me several years to finish. And I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I just can't do both of these things. And I knew one of them had to give, and I felt crazy all the time because I'm like, what am I even doing, trying to pursue music? I really did. And, of course, the other thing about it, Dawn, is when you're in that, when you're in that world, when you're in that, like, sort of any type of corporate career, climbing a ladder type of world, everybody is like, well, what are you doing? Like, you start to think, well, maybe I am kind of nuts for wanting to do this other thing that really makes me happy, but financially is not really something that you think that, it's not certain at all from a financial standpoint. So, but finally I was just like, I just really felt it sort of fracturing me internally, like I can't continue to live in both of these worlds like this. So I just I quit. I quit and decided, well, I mean, I'm really going to go for this. And since I sort of, changed paths, I still have to make, my money. So, when time gets tough and I have to pay my bills, I took a part-time job at doing accounting someplace, but it's always been part-time ever since I sort of like really intentionally made that decision. Okay, like music is going to be my pursuit. That's what I feel like is in my heart to do, and I'm just really going to try to devote myself to that as best I can, with trying to juggle all the responsibilities of just being an adult and what that means. But I just have felt like, well, I'm just going to have to do this no matter what. I'm going to have to find a way. So the rest of my adult life since I made that decision has been, how do I find a way? How do I do this? How do I do it with, a sense of honesty and dignity, and where I don't feel like I'm, compromising anything that I believe in. So it's been sort of a bumpy road, and trying to figure all that out. But fortunately, I've had a lot of people, the people that are my closest friends and family have always gotten it. They understand that this is just a part of me, and they've always been really supportive, and I'm really lucky to have that.
Well, and that your story is so inspiring, because I'm trying to live in that world myself right now. I work full-time for a university, so this is not my day job. I wish it were. But I'm kind of like, I'm running 3 radio shows, which radio is my first love. It's my passion. But, of course, the job is paying the bills,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like I would give the job up in a heartbeat if financially it was one of those things that would justify it, So So I'm still kind of in that chaotic state. So I completely identify with that feeling, and knowing that, you know, I'm kind of where you are, and it's like, what am I doing? You know. But yeah, it is really crazy. It's almost on the verge of insanity. You know what I'm saying?
You do. You start to feel insane after a while when you have, but you can't. Just the fact of the matter is, no amount of effort you extend can drown out those voices. You know, the ones that are in those voices deep down inside, what your heart is saying to you. There's no way to shut it up. You know, you just can't. So. And the answer isn't the same for everybody. You know, the way that I've finally kind of settled into with how I'm, you know, paying my bills and doing music at the same time, and it's been several years me trying to figure out how can I really make this work. And it also wouldn't be possible if, like I said, if I didn't have people that really supported me, especially when I met my husband. He was just a big catalyst in all of that, of somebody that could really sort of be an advocate and say, no, like, you do need to pursue these things that are on your heart to pursue. You've got to do it, and let's figure out a way to make it happen. And I feel like that's been a big part of my journey and why I'm where I am right now.
Well, your journey has been incredible, and I'm so happy that you're pursuing this, because I do know that, you know, the voices just keep getting louder and louder and louder. The more you think about it or you work in it, it does. They don't shut up. So it is great. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you is that I just absolutely fell in love with your music when I first heard it. And to me, it kind of has, you know, it's got that myla-smith originality, but I could hear Michelle Branch. I mean, for some reason, I'm thinking it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Michelle Branch sound, and I love her sound because it's not pop, it's not rock, it's not country. I mean, it's just a great infused mix of blends that make up myla-smith music.
Well, I love that you said that, because that's a huge compliment to me. Because that really is what I've been trying to do, is create something that kind of lives in its own world, that's not really defined as just one genre. Because the point, what I would love to do with my music is for it to reach as many people as possible. And I feel like the more that it can live outside of a genre or live within a whole bunch of them, the more people I can reach. So that's awesome that you said that. It makes me feel really good.
Well, it's so true. And I will tell you, I recently had the privilege of watching, your manager sent me your new video for, you know, I guess your new single that's coming out. And I was just like, really? I mean, the video even, I mean, along with your music is so multidimensional because, you know, for example, the video, as I started to watch it, the first couple of notes, I thought it was going to kind of go off in a country direction, and then it starts going, and this is the video for This Time I Mean It, and then it just kind of starts into this pop rock, you know, sound, and it just kind of goes with that. But the video itself kind of follows that same path of, and I don't want to give anything away because I want people to go and watch it, but the way it kind of keeps recreating itself throughout, you know, and it leaves the viewer with this whole idea of what's in that box.
It is.
What's in the box? And you know, and my gosh, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like, it was like a movie. I mean, how some things kind of resurface in movies that you just cannot get rid of. That's what the video reminded me of, and it was just so well done. So talk a little bit about making that video, because it was great.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. I worked with a production crew out of Memphis called New School Media, and that was the first time I'd ever done a music video with a whole production team. So it was really cool. It was kind of like I was the lead actress, you know, because that whole music video really does sort of play out like a really short movie, and I was sort of, you know, this sort of Hitchcock type figure, like lead heroine in the music video. So it was really cool for me. And what we wanted to do with that song is This Time I Mean It, which is the second single off of my EP, Drugs. And, the song itself is actually about addiction. And the way that I kind of wanted to present that idea, there was a lot of really literal ways that we could go about it, but what I wanted to do was create a concept. I'm like, what could really speak to a lot of different people where, it would be sort of like a mystery, something that they would have to interpret for themselves and figure out what is this. But the general thing that I wanted to create was this idea of something that won't go away, no matter how hard you try to do it. And that's when I pitched that, like really boiled down concept to the production team, they came back to me with this awesome idea for what I'll just say is the box, because I'm like you, I want people to watch the video. But I was just like, wow, that's perfect. That's so perfect, because it was such a different way to present that idea of something that you just can't seem to get rid of. So, yeah, I was really, really excited with how it turned out. I just thought it couldn't have been cooler. And it's actually kind of like spooky. It turned out really spooky.
I think so, too, because you really had to wonder not only what was in the box, but you had to wonder what was it, that would not go away. Of course, my first inclination was it was just a really bad relationship that went bad, that went terribly wrong, but it could have been any number of things that just kind of kept rebounding back. And so you're right. That video really could speak to a lot of different things. I think at first guess most people would think it was just a relationship situation, but it could be anything. There are a lot of addictions in life, and a lot of things that we sometimes just can't seem to break away from. They just keep kind of coming back at us, and there are vices that we want to let go of that we can't let go of. So, the box was a perfect concept because it really does. It doesn't pinpoint it down to one single specific thing. Now, one thing I will compliment you on, and that is your acting in that, because you did some pretty cool stuff, and it was so believable. You have to have any kind of, formal training or instruction before you did the video, or was it just a great director?
Dawn, are you? No, I am. It was, I don't know if it was a fluke or me on a good day or what, but I have had absolutely zero acting experience. I was so nervous to get in front of the camera. I was like, I just knew that I was going to make all the weirdest faces, because I have a tendency to be very expressive, especially when I don't want to be. I'm the person that, like, everything they're thinking is, like, right on their face. My eyes get wide, and so I'm like, oh, no. A close-up of all of my worst expressions. But in fact, like the very first time that we shot a scene with me, the director had told me, he's like, okay, like, I want you to look this way and then look the other way, and then I want you to be look confused. And I'm like, okay, got it. So he's like, okay, roll, and said, okay, cut. And he came up to me and he's like very gently trying to figure out how to say this. And he's like, it was good, but he's like, your confused face looks kind of like disgusted. I was like, I'm really not like the world. What a face am I making? So I just learned to, whatever I'm thinking of doing, tone it down like 500%. And then it seemed to work fine for the rest of the video.
Well, some of your expressions, you're right. That was what was so believable, because some of the, like, the initial scene where you're kind of hauling it out to outside, and you're just you can just see you're so angry, and you're just so, you're over it. It's like you've had it. Okay, this box needs to go somewhere. You totally get that from your expressions and the way you're carrying out your mannerisms, and it left nothing to, and that was not questionable. It was what was in that box, but it was really great, and I did ask your management if it would be okay to post that on our website, because I do want people to see it. And
no, I would love for you to.
Now, one thing I was interested about in this video was that I noticed that there was no at any one time where they actually show you singing. Was that something that you decided not to do and just have the music playing, or for the effect of the video?
That was just that was a call that the director made, because typically in a music video you're either going to have to lip sync your way through it, or they're going to cut to scenes where you're playing the song with a band. And we didn't really want to cut away from the story, and we also didn't really think that lip syncing during the story added a lot of dramatic effect. It just didn't seem to really make a lot of sense for me to do that. So we just decided not to do that at all. And I think that that's the right call.
Yeah.
I'm happy with
that. I agree, because I think it would have taken away from the storytelling aspect of the video. And it's nice because you do see, it seems like nowadays when you see videos, you've got kind of a little bit of everything going on. You see the cutaway to the band and the artist singing, and then you see the storyline, developing and unfolding. But you don't see too many videos where just throughout the entire song there's a story being told. And I think that's much more enjoyable. And it's a great thing about that is it kind of reminds me of videos from, I won't tell my age, but back in the 80s when videos kind of hit the scene. And, it's telling. But it kind of reminds me of those days when videos kind of became all the rage, and they hit the, the television screen, and you got to see a story being played out while the song was rolling, and it was so great. That's why videos became so huge. So it's nice to see you kind of bring that back, to the current day.
Well, as a writer, what I always am most interested in is the story, and that's definitely what I want people to focus on the most. So, I'm not too worried that we don't have the shot of me with the band. As a songwriter, you are a storyteller. So I always feel like that's the most important thing. So with the new single that I've got coming out on the 23rd of this month, that was the same thing. You're trying to create sort of like a sound picture. You want people to have it be sort of visual in their mind, even if they're not watching the video. You want them to feel like they're right there in the story. So you want to do everything you can to create that image for them, and sort of for that, 3.5 minutes that they're there. So whatever you need to do to create that is, that's part of what music is doing by choosing certain instruments and different soundscapes. You're really trying to put that listener right in the middle of that story for 3.5 minutes or however long the song is. So anyway, that's what I like to do with music.
Yeah, well, I prefer that much better, just because a video is, the concept is you're viewing it, and you want to be able to see the story being played out on the screen. And so, there's a lot of different formats that allow you to see your art, your favorite artist or artists performing live or performing in on television. But just a video is a whole different concept that you can be as creative as you want to be, and there's no reason not to. When you're going to great lengths. Well, that's right. I understand that you also have a full-length album that's going to be coming out in May, or either you're going into the studio in May?
Yeah, in the studio in May, and it should be coming out around August. That's what we're shooting for, the release date of August 2013, which is, by my standards, the fastest turnaround that I've ever done for a recording. The last EP that I put out, Drugs, I just released in October. So this will actually be less than a year that I've got a new record coming out, which is really exciting for me because, I want the fans to have new content, as often as possible. And it's just tough to do that, because it takes a lot of time and energy to create music. And so it does, you end up having, usually a couple of years in between releases. But actually, that's what's exciting about it, is that I'm going to be able to offer fans new music as early as the end of this month, actually, because I'm coming out with a single on April 23rd, a summer single called Ocean. And that I recorded, just actually got done recording that today, which is really exciting because I just heard the mixed version of it, and it's like sounds so good, and I can't, anytime I get something, new finished, it's like it's what I'm the most excited about. I want everybody to hear it. So I can't wait for people to hear this one. I can see everybody like cranking this up and listening to it, on their way out of town, headed to the beach. That's what I hope everybody does. So
now I definitely want to get that in my hands soon, because once we can play it on our show and add it to our rotation on a radio station, but also I'm going to be heading to the beach in a couple of months, and I definitely want to have that cranked up, rolling down the road.
Man, I wish I was heading to the beach right now. I would go.
I know, really?
Can you take me?
I know, it is perfect weather for sure. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, first, I've got two things to ask you about, and that is your current EP, Drugs. Now, I'm really curious, what was the deciding factor on, to name your EP Drugs? Because that's such a strong, that's a strong title for an album.
I know, it's provocative, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was part of my intention was when I was sort of like, narrowing down the songs that I was going to record on that EP, a lot of the ones that were making the short list were these songs I was writing that were basically about vices, different things that I feel like all of us use in, different aspects of our life to kind of fill up some inner emptiness. And I feel like everybody has something that they use in their life in that capacity that makes them just feel not so bad. And, these things that we hang on to that sort of serve like, fill up the holes that we feel in the inside. And whether it's like relationships or your work or whether it's, drugs and alcohol or whatever that is, you can sort of go there in your mind. You know what it is. Everybody does, like that thing that they use to make themselves feel better. And so I was writing a lot of just sort of exploring that topic, like why do we do that? Everybody does it, and what motivates us, and what are all the common themes that all these, what do these things have in common? And so when I was sort of wrestling through all of that, I thought about, what could I call this record if I did, ended up using these songs? And I thought vices, but then I'm like, well, these are actually, what is a vice if not just a drug? And the word drug, I think, is a lot more provocative than vices. And I also thought that it would be a great conversation starter. Like, and I often have people that come up to me, like, after a show or after they've just heard the record, and they want to know. They're like, hey, so why did you title your album this? And it's just a great jumping off point for me to start that conversation and be like, well, let me tell you what I think a drug is, and let's talk about that. Because I do feel like anybody that's ever met me in person, I'm just like the most straight-laced person ever. So they're like, do you hang out with a record called Drugs? I feel like it's even more of a reason why they would be curious. And I think curiosity is always a good thing. It's something that that can lead to truth. And so I'm just really excited that my brain for that one moment was like, drugs, let's do it.
Well, and it's funny because that same provocative sense is in, your video as well. And because it does kind of lead you to wonder, where is she going with this? What is this? What is she trying to convey? There's a meaning behind it of some sort. And I think another thing, too, is it makes you think. It's not just a title where people go, okay, yeah, I get that. It is definitely one that really is, like you say, a great conversation starter. For sure.
That is exactly what I want to do. I want people to think about, and it's not something that you necessarily do on the first listen, but just, combined with the title and listening to the lyrics and sort of like letting the mood of the music hit you, like maybe on your second or third or fourth listen, maybe you're starting to think about some of that stuff. And making people think is definitely something that I hope that I can do with my music. I definitely don't always hit the mark, but it's something that is like as a writer and a performer that I'm always striving to get better at.
Well, I can tell you're just immensely talented, and I can't wait till your new stuff is out. I really can't.
I can't wait for you to hear it. I'm really excited.
Oh, I know. I'm excited too. I mean, you've gained a new fan in me because you're one of those artists that, you know, from the moment you hear, I mean, every song I've heard by you and just everything I've heard, I've immediately liked. I mean, it's not one of those things you have to warm up to. You know, it's just awesome music, and it's great listening music, and you know, it's great music for riding in the car. It's, you know, it's great music for anything, really. And so I love the fact that it just kind of draws you in, you know, and you just want to keep listening to see what's, and you especially look forward to what's coming next. I mean, that's the kind of artist that you are. And those are rare in this day and time when everything is so prepackaged and pre-made, and, you know, big record labels are kind of creating the machine of music these days, and everything sounds so much alike, and it's so refreshing to have someone like you on the scene that is trying to be apart, you know, stand apart and set themselves apart from the norm, you know.
Thank you so much. That means
that's
a lot.
making a great statement. One last question for you. I was curious, now you own your own record label called Shake Rag Records?
I do, yeah.
That is really cool. I guess that makes it pretty easy when you're wanting to make your own record, huh?
It does. It sure does. Yeah, I just try to control as much of the process as I can because I really, really care about what I put out there. You know, it's my name. It's not like other products, you know, where you can actually sort of disassociate yourself from the product you're putting out because there's, you know, it's called a different brand. I am my music, you know, and there is a distinction between, you know, myla-smith, the artist, writer, performer, and, you know, myla-smith, the person, of course, like there is with anything.
Right.
But, you know, that's my name on everything that I'm putting out there, and I want it to be excellent. I want it to be really honest. I feel like honesty is what everybody really wants, don't they? I mean, that's what we crave from other people. That's what we crave in art and our culture, and that's what I want to do. And I was always worried that if I, you know, gave some of that creative control over to somebody else, that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do that. And that's just something that's really important to me. And the industry is actually changing a lot. It's because, you know, the big labels are kind of going out of business, and a lot more people are creating music independently. So the climate is definitely more accepting to, you know, people like me. So that's really good news. So that's exciting for anybody that's trying to, you know, other singer-songwriters that might be listening in and want to do something similar. You know, it's just a great time to pursue that. So I would encourage anybody out there that's listening, you know, if you've got something that you really want to say and you have a voice, you know, you have every resource now to be able to make your voice heard. So I would just encourage you, you know, keep writing, record yourself, keep trying to get better. And, you know, there's an audience out there. So it's just now, just how do you find them? So that's what I'm still trying to do. And I'm really glad that I found you.
I know, likewise. I'm ecstatic. I mean, you're one of the indies art I can tell you that I've spoken with of late that I've truly, truly enjoyed speaking with, and just look very forward to having many more chats with you as we go along because you're going to continue putting out great music. And
please have me back on the show. Like, you know, when the single comes out and the record, I'd love to come back and do another interview.
Oh, well, you can count on that. Not a problem. So, and I just want to tell the listeners really quick, if I would implore you please go check out myla-smith and her music. You will absolutely love it. You can check her out at myla-smith.com. That is her website. It's chock full of information. You can also follow her on Twitter at myla-smith. And Myla, do you have a Facebook page?
I sure do. Facebook.com/myla-smith-music. And you can get me on iTunes and Amazon as well.
Very good. Well, we wish you all the best. I can't wait till April 23rd and the new single drop. So please send it our way. We will be playing it immediately, so I can't wait. And really good luck with your upcoming album. That's exciting as well. You just got to, 2013 is just shaping up to be a great year for you already. So.
Oh, my gosh. It is a jam-packed year for me, but I couldn't be more excited about it.
Well, all I can tell the listeners is watch out, world. Myla's coming. Well, thank you so very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it and have so enjoyed speaking with you this evening, and we wish you all the best. And we will be back in touch with you again very soon.
Okay, great. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Oh, you too.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Oh, what a sweetheart. Myla-Smith. Now, please remember the name, and it's Myla Smith. She is just a phenomenal young woman. To think she was a CPA turned musician full-time, singer-songwriter, and she has some great music. So you really want to go check her out. And please check out her video that she's just released. It's on YouTube. It's called This Time I Mean It. You can just type a search for Myla-Smith in the search bar, and it'll take you right to her channel. And she's got quite a few videos up, but the one you want to look for with the box and the intrigue is This Time I Mean It. It's great. And we will also be posting that on our website. And when we get that posted, we will be putting a tweet out about it. So in any event, it is, gosh, what a great interview yet again. And as we close tonight, I want to play the song we have been playing on our show here for a bit. This is off of her Drugs EP, her current EP, and this is Closer.
Call. I choose to answer every word. Another step in a dance that is new. Why is it easy with you? 1 and 2, and it takes you closer to me. Takes me closer to you. Takes us close. Day
right, that was myla-smith off of her latest release called Drugs, and that was one of the cuts off of that called Closer. All right, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. But thank you so very much for being here and listening in. And what another great interview. Love myla-smith, and I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be right back here tomorrow night, and we will have a band called Japan Soul with us. They are kind of a pop rock electro sound band, great band. Love their song. They sound very 80s retro. And they're going to be here at 7 p.m. Eastern, so we hope that you will tune in for that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this evening. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you right back here again tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. Good night, all.
Thanks for listening to tonight's show. You can connect with Jammin Jukebox Radio Show on Twitter at Jammin Jukebox or on Facebook at Jammin Jukebox Radio Show. Check out our website at thejamminjukebox.com. Also, follow us on Blog Talk, where you will be always up to date on every episode as we add it. Each episode is available for immediate download upon the conclusion of each broadcast and is always on iTunes. Thank you for joining us.